Hello everyone, today we are going to talk about one of the most critical issues of the 21st century, water wars. We all know about wars fought over oil, gas, or energy. But experts believe that in the coming decades, the greatest conflicts between nations may not be about oil at all, they will be about water. Why? Because water is the foundation of life. It is needed not only for drinking, but also for agriculture, for industry, for energy production, and for survival itself. With climate change, rapid population growth, and the overuse of rivers and lakes, water is becoming a scarce and strategic resource. So where could these so-called water wars actually break out? Let's explore the world region by region. 1. The Middle East, Euphrates, Tigris, and Nile. The Middle East is one of the most water-stressed regions on Earth. First, let's look at Turkey, Syria, and Iraq. These three countries share the waters of the Euphrates and Tigris rivers. Turkey, with its massive southeastern Anatolia project, has built dozens of dams, giving it significant control over water flow. But this has reduced the amount of water reaching Syria and Iraq. Iraq in particular is suffering, its agriculture is collapsing, and drought is pushing people away from their land. If dialogue fails, these disputes could turn direct conflict. Then we have the Nile crisis. Egypt depends on the Nile River for over 90% of its water. But Ethiopia's construction of the Grand Renaissance threatens to reduce the water flowing into Egypt. Cairo has already warned several times that the Nile is a red line. Sudan is also caught in the middle. Analysts believe this situation could escalate into one of the first true water wars if no compromise is reached. 2. South Asia, India, Pakistan, and Bangladesh. Moving east, South Asia is another hotspot. The Indus River is shared between India and Pakistan. These two nations already have a long history of conflict, and both are nuclear powers. While the Indus Water Treaty still governs water use, India's upstream projects are making Pakistan nervous. If Pakistan feels its survival is threatened, tension rise sharply. Meanwhile, India and Bangladesh are divided over the Ganges and Brahmaputra rivers. India controls the upper stretches of these rivers and has built several dams. But for Bangladesh, a low-lying country, these rivers are its lifeline for agriculture and drinking water. Reduced water flow could spark major political and social unrest in Bangladesh. 3. The Horn of Africa. Now let's look at the Horn of Africa. Countries like Somalia, Ethiopia, and Kenya already face extreme drought. Access to wells and rivers is limited, and tribal groups often clash over water. As the climate gets hotter and drier, these small-scale conflicts could easily expand into larger regional disputes. Millions of people are already being forced to migrate, and this migration itself could destabilize entire governments. 4. Central Asia, Amu Darya and Sirdarya. Central Asia is another fragile region. After the collapse of the Soviet Union, the countries of Kazakhstan, Uzbekistan, Turkmenistan, Kyrgyzstan, and Tajikistan have struggled to share water fairly. The upstream countries, Tajikistan and Kyrgyzstan, want to build dams for hydropower. But downstream, Uzbekistan and Kazakhstan need water for agriculture, especially for cotton production. This conflict has already devastated the Aral Sea, turning it into one of the world's greatest environmental disasters. If cooperation fails, we may see rising instability across the region. 5. Mekong River, China and Southeast Asia. Let's move to Southeast Asia. The Mekong River flows through China, Vietnam, Cambodia, Laos, and Thailand. China, being upstream, has built massive dams. This gives Beijing enormous control over water flows. But downstream countries rely on the Mekong for rice farming, fishing, and food security. Vietnam's Mekong Delta, for example, produces a huge share of the world's rice. If water levels continue to fall, millions could lose their livelihoods. Many experts warn that China may one day use water as a tool of political pressure against its neighbors. 6. The Americas, US, and Mexico. An often overlooked case is North America. The Colorado River, which supplies water to millions in the US and Mexico, is drying up due to climate change and overuse. The United States is increasingly diverting water for its own southwestern states, while Mexico complains of shortages. For now, this remains a diplomatic dispute. But if the river continues to shrink, tensions could rise. 7. Israel, Palestine, and Jordan. Finally, back to the Middle East. Israel's control over water resources in the West Bank severely restricts Palestinian access to water. At the same time, Israel and Jordan are also divided over the Jordan River. Here, water is not just a resource, it is already a silent front in a much larger political conflict. Looking ahead. So, what does the future hold? First, regional wars directly triggered by water shortages are possible, especially in the Middle East and South Asia. Second, mass migrations will occur as millions of people drought-stricken areas in Africa and Asia. Third, we may see economic collapse in countries that depend heavily on agriculture. And perhaps most importantly, controlling rivers and lakes could become the new definition of global power. Those who control water may well become the superpowers of the future. Closing. In short, dear viewers, the wars of tomorrow may not be fought over oil, but over water. Unless nations find ways to cooperate, these water conflicts will not just remain regional, they could turn into global security crises. Thank you for watching. For more in-depth analyses like this, don't forget to subscribe and turn on notifications. See you in the next video.